is yours. Hi, the interview is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Frank. Can you hear me?
Hey, Gina, good morning. Yes, I can hear you. How do you hear me?
All right. So here you are, getting close to launch, but I want to take you back to your astronaut application process. So how complicated was it? What do you think tipped it for you? And what was that phone call like when you were selected?
Yeah, it was an exciting process. Gosh, it was almost 2 years long. And really, you don't start getting excited about it, I think, until the very end. At least I didn't. Um, I don't know, who knows what tipped it for me, right? I count myself incredibly blessed and very lucky. One of the really neat things about the process is you get to meet all these amazing other people that are applying. And you quickly realize like any one of them would make an awesome astronaut, even though you don't have a really good idea of what an astronaut exactly is at the time. They're just amazing people. And so, honestly, when I was picked, I was completely surprised. I got a little emotional because I completely did not expect it. But yeah, what a blessing. And I'm glad to be here. And I can't imagine that, 5 years later, I'm getting ready to launch. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Well, you've flown helicopters. You've jumped out of airplanes. You're a flight surgeon. I mean, really, what are you most looking forward to this launch?
Yeah, I think just the whole experience, right? There's a lot of things about it that I've been excited about for a while. The launch itself, right, has got to be pretty amazing to get on a rocket and finally launch. And then quickly after that, you become weightless, and then you're going to be weightless for 6 months. And I think that's going to be a pretty neat experience. And I think the learning curve in space is incredibly steep. And so just the fact that I'll be in an environment where I'm constantly learning, constantly getting better at something new, I think that'll be pretty exciting. And then when you go to undock and come back home and you re-enter the atmosphere, I mean, that's a pretty exciting moment too. So I think the whole 6-month experience is going to be pretty awesome.
Well, one of the skills that you're bringing to the space station is going to be, I think, incredibly useful as we go further into space to Moon and to Mars. You're a flight surgeon. You are a doctor and a flight surgeon. You bring these skill sets to this mission. So how will you use this during your time on the space station? You'll sort of be observing yourself, I think.
Yeah, that's one of those skill sets you hope to never use, right? But I think the biggest thing that I bring besides the knowledge and the skill set is really more adaptability, right? Just having spent 24 years in the Army and in medicine in general, you just learn to adapt because you never know what's coming around the corner. And just being able to handle those things and kind of stay cool under pressure, or at least pretend to be, right? Even if you are nervous about it. I think all those things will really pay off more than anything else.
Well, there's so many things we need to learn about the human body before we go to live on the moon and hopefully to Mars. Radiation exposure, your bones, all of that. So let's talk a little bit about the research that hopefully you'll be getting to do on the space station that will help us learn how to live on other planets.
Yeah, that's one of the really neat things about this, right? We've been doing this for about 20 years, and it still feels like we learn something new every day, especially about human anatomy and human biology. Things that were a huge concern initially, right? Bone density loss. We've kind of figured out how to get around that a little bit through exercise and resistive training. And so as we keep moving forward, I think we're going to get better and better at the other tough hurdles, radiation being one of them, how your changes in blood distribution affect your heart and your vascular system. And then just the prolonged, even though we're staying on station now for 6 months to a year, eventually when we get to Mars, we're thinking that's going to take 3 years or so. So that's a huge difference. And so just knowing that every day we're contributing to that knowledge base that will hopefully help humans achieve something that we could never dream of now. I think that's just a really gratifying thing.
Well, I know you won't be at the Kennedy Space Center for the Artemis launch next week, but I'm assuming you'll be watching it wherever you are. And then Orion will be orbiting the moon when you're on the space station. So how closely will you be monitoring that mission when you're up in space?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll tell you, the launch, I sure do wish I could be there, right? Regardless of being an astronaut or not, I think everybody will probably feel just like a little kid again watching that rocket launch. It's just going to be amazing. Um, yeah, I hope to watch it live. Unfortunately, our training is pretty heavy right now, and the focus has to be on that. But I'm going to try to do everything possible to get done with that day a little bit early so we can watch it. As far as it, being on station, it's just going to depend on the orbital dynamics and kind of where it is and where we are as to whether we'll be able to see it or not. I know NASA personnel are working really hard on letting us know if that's going to be the case or not. Because I've just kind of been, knee deep in this training, I don't have a great knowledge of that. But I do know that if it's going to happen, we'll know about it, and hopefully we'll get some amazing pictures from it.
Thank you very much for your time today. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
Good morning, or good evening, I should say. Frank, Bill Harwood, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center. Thanks so much for taking a moment for me.
Hey, Bill. Yeah, good morning to you. Good afternoon to me here. It's we're almost done with the workday here.
There you go. Yeah, just a couple of questions I wanted to run by you that we never got around to at the news conference. You told me a little bit about your two crewmates. I was wondering of your impressions of the Soyuz spacecraft as an operator, as a longtime helicopter pilot. You have a lot of flight experience. What is your sense of the Soyuz, the accommodations, its capabilities, et cetera?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you look for as an aviator and as an astronaut, anybody who's going to be in any sort of spacecraft or aircraft, is reliability. And the Soyuz is incredibly well proven. It's got an incredible track record. And from that sense, I feel very safe. It is, proven technology in the sense that it's been around for a long time. But because of that, it's just all been pretty tried and true. So, yeah, I think if nothing else, I feel very confident that it's a great spacecraft and it's going to get us up there and back safely.
And, one of the things we did talk about a little bit at the news conference, but I'd like to go into it in a little bit more detail, is the importance of the seat swap. Having an American on board a Soyuz routinely and a cosmonaut aboard a U.S. commercial ship routinely, in the sense of, if a crew had to leave, that there'd always be one. Each nation would always be represented. Could you talk about that a little bit and what sort of scenarios come into play and how important that is?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to that. Obviously, from the ISS side, I think it is very important that it gives us redundancy and the ability to respond to unforeseen circumstances. So I think from that sense, it's very important. It essentially gives us a backup plan. From the other sense, historically, right, although there's been tensions between our nations, it is important to realize there's a long-standing history of cooperation, right, back from the Apollo Soyuz program to the Shuttle Mir program, and now 20 plus years of working together on the ISS. And I think it just builds camaraderie and trust in a way that's very important to maintain, especially in moments like this when there are tensions in other aspects. So yeah, again, I'm very honored to represent our nation, and I'm proud to be here. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much of a good thing I think this is.
Oh yeah, no question about that. I guess what I was wondering was, to me, it seems like the point of it is to make sure that under any circumstance, there's always at least one Russian on board the station and one American to operate U.S. and Russian segment systems. I'm not misinterpreting that, am I? That is the primary goal of this, isn't it? To ensure that.
Again, I really do feel like it's twofold. That is absolutely part of it, right? Is the fact that it does give us redundancy and a backup plan for both nations. But I do think, the cooperation is equally as important. So I don't want to underemphasize that part of it. But absolutely, I mean, having a backup plan when it comes to something like human spaceflight is absolutely critical.
Let me switch gears a little bit here. I was just wondering, obviously you're no stranger and your family's no stranger to deployments, and of course you've done a lot of combat missions and tours. But what do they think about going into space? That seems like a a different level entirely.
Yeah, they're pretty excited, right? I think they appreciate the uniqueness of this opportunity. Certainly, there's absolutely some things to possibly be nervous about, but I'm very blessed that. My wife has always been very supportive of that. And because of that, I think my kids have kind of grown up like that in the sense of, we worry about the things we can control and try not to worry about the things we can't control. And she's incredibly good at that. And because of that, I feel very comfortable in her support in this whole situation.
I'm no good at guessing ages looking at your face on my television monitor right now. I could look at it in your biography. But how old are your kids? I'm just curious if these are grown kids or you guys still got young ones around.
Yeah, they're kind of on the younger side. Our oldest is 18, a 17-year-old, 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old. So we have 4 teenagers, which makes it a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I was listening a little bit earlier. You were talking about medical research in space, and one of my questions was, obviously with the Artemis 1 launch coming up, puts a lot of focus on the Artemis program and what's going to be accomplished down the road. I was looking for your perspective as a doctor. What are some of the big outstanding questions that need to be resolved before people can travel to Mars? And how do you address that on both ISS and I guess down the road, Artemis missions as well? How are you going to get that knowledge so that, we'll be confident when we send people to Mars, they're going to be able to get there and get back in good shape?
Yeah, sure. It's really pretty neat, right? We do have a presence on Mars already. We have robotic presence there, and we have had for a while. And so bringing humans into the equation for any sort of space mission just complicates things exponentially. And so again, it's I think like anything else, NASA is going to tackle it step by step. We're just going to focus on the next problem, solving that problem, and while also focusing on the long-term picture. I think the biggest things that are currently the concern, I think, are radiation for sure, right? And I think people always wonder, like, why is that so hard to manage, right? As we do so all the time on submarines. And the problem is just weight. We just can't launch a bunch of iron plates into space to manage that radiation. And so figuring out innovative ways to deal with that problem, I think, is going to be a unique challenge. And then again, just also how our entire systems, primarily the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, how they handle microgravity environments. And not just microgravity environment, but then how you, once you are reintroduced into a partial Earth gravity environment, how do you handle that after essentially being deconditioned, right? What kind of training do you have to do? How do you have to stay prepared? How long do you have to adapt once you get there? Those are all going to be pretty unique challenges. I look forward to contributing to that in whatever way possible, whether it's, as an astronaut that's participating in the mission, or when I'm not flying as a doctor who helps provide ideas and solutions to those problems.
Well, Frank, thank you very much. I'm out of time. Wish you best of luck on your flight. Look forward to talking to you in space.
All right, Bill. Well, it was great talking to you again. And thanks again. Take care.
Okay. Well, Frank or Dr. Rubio, first of all, thank you so much for doing this interview. And how should I refer to you? Frank, Dr. Rubio?
Hey, Kristen. Yeah, Frank would be great. It's great to talk to you.
I'm very excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy training schedule to do this. Well, first things first, you're about to become one of the very few humans to ever go into space, but you've already had quite a unique experience. I mean, you're one of the few Americans right now in Russia during a time of such conflict. What's it been like?
Yeah, it is a privilege to be here. We do actually have a pretty robust NASA team that's here to support the mission, and so I feel very fortunate in that I feel very well supported, and there's a bunch of us here, and I think every one of us would say we do feel safe. Now, we are very focused on the mission. We're in Star City, and we're just trying to get the training done, and as far as being ready for this mission, but. The Roscosmos trainers, just like the NASA trainers, take a lot of pride in their human space program. And so I feel very much ready for this mission, well trained, and very supported by them.
Did you ever have any second thoughts about flying on a Russian Soyuz in the middle of this conflict with Ukraine?
Again, not really, because I trust my crew wholeheartedly. And the more time I spend with the trainers and the people that, produce the Soyuz rocket and spacecraft, the more I am reminded of the NASA team and just the amount of pride and the amount of caring that they have towards the crew. And so I feel that while I'm here, and so I'm very confident in our mission.
And how about your family? I believe you have a wife and 3 children. Sorry if I don't have that exactly right, but did they ever call you and were they ever like, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, we do have 4 kids, but only 3 at home. So yeah, you got that right. One's off to college now. I think they've been equally as excited about this. If anything, right, there's a little bit of nerves about the whole big picture of going to space for the first time, spending 6 months up there. I don't know that the Russia thing ever became a worry for them, and it's still not. Again, I think we're focused on the mission itself. They've been able to meet my crew. My crew has met my family. And so there's a level of comfort there that I think is really, it's great to have going into this mission.
Do you ever speak to your cosmonaut crewmates about what's happening in Ukraine?
Yeah, we've addressed it very shortly, to be honest. And I think it's important to just focus on the mission and develop the trust that we need as a crew. And I don't know that it necessarily would be a problem to talk about it. I feel confident about how I feel about it, and as I'm sure they do. But more than anything, we try to avoid, I think, anything that would take away from our camaraderie and the fact that we're focused on accomplishing this mission safely, supporting each other while we're up there. We're going to have a lot going on. They possibly have 5 spacewalks going. The USOS side has 4 spacewalks going. We're going to have a lot of things coming and going from the space station. And so I think it's critical to have as cohesive a team as possible. We have that going into this. I think we're going to have stronger bonds the more time we're up there. And I look forward to having lifetime friendships with them.
You've been in Russia during a time of, some political change within Roscosmos itself, from Dmitri Rogozin to Yuri Borisov, and then there was some confusion about whether or not Russia was going to pull out of the ISS before 2024. What was your experience like around that? Did you have any concerns as that was going on? And just since this is probably my last question, could you just speak to the importance of, or what you believe the importance to be of continuing this international cooperation at the ISS, which has gone on for so many decades now?
Yeah, so at my level, again, I think I've stayed as focused as possible on the mission. And so I was pretty protected from the higher up issues. I was certainly aware of them, but I didn't really spend a whole lot of time worrying about it, in the sense that it was completely out of my control. And I had so much training to complete, right, because it did take a while to get the agreements in place. And although we were training up for the mission, there's just a certain amount you can't do until the contract is signed. And so it's been pretty busy for the last, 6 months to a year. And so I've really tried to just focus on that and being ready. As far as the crew swap and how important that is, I do think it's incredibly important. It's important to realize and acknowledge the history that we have of working together, despite incredibly challenging times. Right, we throughout the Cold War, we had the Apollo Soyuz program. Then we had the Shuttle Mir program. And then after that, gosh, we've been working together on the ISS for 20 plus years. And so I think it's important to remember that. There have been other times where political tensions may have been high, but we've figured out a way to continue working together in human spaceflight. So yeah, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to represent our country. And I think this is a good thing that will lead to, in some way, improved relationships between us.
You're now in the running to be one of the Artemis astronauts, fly on one of these missions to the moon. How does that play into your thinking, or are you just focused on this first flight?
Yeah, it doesn't really play into it at all. I do think it's important to stay focused on the mission at hand. Now, what does play into it is knowing that some of my friends will be up there soon. And so that's super exciting. I'm thrilled about that. I'm happy to, get back from the ISS and help contribute to that program in whatever way I can, and hopefully help my friends get up there and maybe someday get up there myself. So yeah, it's exciting times. As you well know, as NASA tackles new things, it's just an exciting environment to be around.
And finally, you're a physician. Tell me about some of the experiments that you're most excited about conducting up at the ISS.
Yeah, there's so many. I think the one that I'm most excited about is the biofabrication experiment, mostly because I think that has a lot of promise long term in space, where the microgravity environment is going to allow us to hopefully fabricate human organs and just make a huge difference in the transplant needs that humanity has. So we're going to have that experiment fly up here shortly and get that restarted. And I can't wait to see what steps we make towards eventually making that a reality.
That's so cool. Well, Frank, best of luck. Good luck, Godspeed. And we look forward to watching you launch in a few weeks.
Well, thanks, Kristen. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
Great talking to you, too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Courtney Kuby from NBC News. Colonel Rubio?
Hey, Courtney. This is Frank. I've got you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
I hear you great. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know they've got you sort of on what we in TV call the wheel of death, which is just interview after interview after interview. So
no, it's a lot of fun. It's great to talk to you guys.
Good. Okay. Well, hopefully we will not make this too miserable for you. But I want to start by asking about some of the training that you've been doing. So how long have you been training there in Russia, and how have you seen the training there different from the training that you received in the U.S.?
Yeah, so you normally get assigned to a mission about 2 years out. Because of the different things going on with my mission, I've probably been training for about 1.5 years now. So a little bit of a curtailed timeline, but not by much. And during that time, you travel here to Russia, usually training here for anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks at a time. We also train at the JAXA, the Japanese Japanese Space Agency, and also the European Space Agency. And so we spend a lot of time in those places. We go up to Canada and train with the CSA on robotics. And so you're kind of all over the place, getting trained by all these amazing people. I think more than the differences, you really notice the similarities between all of our partners. And that's incredibly talented engineers that truly and deeply care about human space exploration. And you can just see that in the way they pour themselves into your training. And so, it makes you feel honored and pretty blessed to be in the program because you have all these amazing people putting their time into you. And I think that, without fail, that is absolutely held true at all of the partner agencies.
So I heard during the press conference the other day, you talked a little bit about two of your Russian crew members, Sergey and Dmitri. How would you say your relations are? I mean, you're the only American on this crew, right? The rest are all Russians. Is that correct? How would you say that the relationships are working out?
Yeah, so there'll be 3 of us on the Soyuz, but there are 4 other people coming up around the same time on Crew Dragon, right? And so Anya Kikina, another Russian cosmonaut, will be on that crew. We'll have 2 American astronauts there and a JAXA astronaut. So we'll have quite the international crew. And we all get along incredibly well. I've been blessed that to have just a great crew, right? Great people. It makes it a lot of fun, to be honest. And they're also incredibly talented and very capable. And so you also feel very comforted by the fact that you have strong people with you, which makes for an incredibly strong team. And going into it, I feel like we could tackle anything up there. We're going to be busy. And so you're happy to be able to share that load. But again, it's pretty incredible how well we all get along.
Can you explain to me what this seat swapping is that you're going to do? What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. So according to this agreement that was signed, for the next few years, an American astronaut will fly on a Soyuz spacecraft, and a Russian cosmonaut will fly on a Crew Dragon spacecraft, and will essentially be on the ISS pretty much for the most part at the same time. There'll be a couple of weeks differences both on launch and on departure. And then once you're up on the ISS, I will work primarily on the USOS side, and Anya will work on the Russian side. But we see each other every day. The entire crew tends to eat together at least once a week. We'll often share exercise facilities, and after the workday, you'll go over to their side, they'll come over to our side, and just spend time together.
I know there's a long history between the U.S. in human space exploration between the U.S. and Russia. And I think a lot of people, just given the political tensions that exist right now, would be surprised to know that it's continuing. So is there, when you're having these group dinners or when you're maybe working out together, does the current political environment, the war in Ukraine, does that ever come up? Is there any awkwardness with that?
Well, I haven't been there yet, right, to know, to be able to answer that from the ISS perspective. But I will tell you here on the ground, there's really not. We don't talk about it much, and it's not necessarily to avoid the topic. But I think all of us really just focus on the mission at hand, the training, and everything we need to get done to make sure that we're ready for our space flight. There's just a lot. There's a lot to handle as far as the training load. And so I think you spend most of your time and energy putting into that for about 2 years. Leading up to it, we're getting along great. I have full confidence that we're going to get along great once we're on station, and I think be good friends thereafter.
Another thing that I'm kind of struck by is you're in a unique position being in active duty military because you have experience with deployments. Do you think it makes it easier, or you are in a unique position to be away from your family for 6 months because of your background in the military? How do you think that prepares you for this?
Yeah, I don't know that anything ever prepares you for being away from your family. No matter how many times you do it, it's still hard. The good thing is I feel like we do have a strong family. My wife is incredibly capable and strong, and I think she's going to handle things probably better than when I'm around while I'm up there. The other thing, though, is really for the past 25 years, the military and the Army specifically has been focused on kind of the hearts and mind mission, right? So there's been a lot of diplomacy in that time frame that we've worked on relationship building. And so I think that's definitely contributing to my time here at NASA, and it's helped me be a better astronaut and a better person. And I do feel incredibly well prepared for this mission because of my background.
What is the hardest part going into this? What is the hardest part for you personally, the preparation?
I do think it's being away from family. Like I said, that's never easy, right? You are missing a good chunk of time from your kids. You never get that time back. This is unique in the sense that we're all pretty excited about it, right? And so despite the separation, there is an underlying excitement about the mission, and so that makes things easier. But yeah, other than that, the academic load, kind of like medical school, it's not necessarily that it's incredibly hard. It's just a lot, and you're trying to juggle all of these topics and all of this knowledge at the same time, and keep fluency in all of it at the same time. And so I think that is probably the biggest challenge. Is not necessarily the difficulty, but the quantity that we have to deal with.
What will your family be able to? Will you see them before you leave? Can you? Or?
Yeah. So we do talk regularly, telephonically, and we're able to, FaceTime or Skype or whatever video conference we use. And we are hoping that they will be able to come to Baikonur and see the launch. So that'll be pretty exciting.
That's great. What we only have another minute or two, but what are you most nervous about going into this?
Yeah, I think just the level of responsibility, right? The funding and the effort that's been put into the ISS up until this point, right? And so you are now partly responsible for this incredible national laboratory while you're up there. Now you have an awesome and incredibly large ground team that supports you. But I think there's just a sense of responsibility while you're up there that you want to do your best and want to make sure that you move things forward and not hurt the mission in any way.
And what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I think there's lots of things. I think the rocket launch, the weightlessness, the learning something new every day. I think that's going to be incredible. You're challenged. I mean, I think people don't really appreciate, and I don't yet, but I will soon, how difficult it is to learn to function in microgravity. And so there's a steep learning curve. And everything from just translating and the fact that any little movement pushes you away from what you're trying to do, to sleeping differently, using the restroom obviously is something that everybody has curiosity about, but that's a new challenge. And so all those things, as you're learning those things, you're just getting better and better at it for 6 months. And so I think that'll be pretty exciting times. And then once we come home, gosh, the re-entry through the atmosphere, that's going to be pretty incredible too. So yeah, I would say the whole spectrum. I'm like a little kid. I'm pretty excited about it.
That's what. Well, have it. Good luck. Be safe. I especially wish you very good luck when you come home to all your.
Courtney, you're breaking up, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
we're starting in 5 seconds.
Okay.
Amigos, escuchen esto. En menos de 30 días, el astronauta de origen salvadoreño Frank Rubio estará viajando rumbo a la Estación Espacial Internacional. Lo hará en una nave llamada Soyuz junto a 2 cosmonautas rusos. Además, Frank es doctor en medicina, cirujano de vuelo y esta será su primera misión al espacio. Esta mañana somos el primer medio hispano que habla con él en vivo desde Star City en Rusia. ¿Cómo está? Buen día.
Buenos días, Eli. Saludos desde Rusia.
Sí, allí tenemos una diferencia de tiempo, obviamente, porque él está en Rusia, pero vamos a tratar de hacer estas preguntas. Está muy poco, lo decíamos, de hacer su primer viaje espacial. En la historia de la humanidad, menos de 600 personas han tenido ese privilegio de ir al espacio. Uno de ellos eres tú. Yo podría hablarte de lo orgulloso que estamos nosotros, pero quiero saber qué es lo que tú sientes.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias, Eli. Más que todo, uno se siente tan bendecido por tener esta oportunidad. Y es un gran honor estar aquí representando nuestro país y también poder representar a los hispanos. Y de veras que estoy muy emocionado por esta misión.
Y aunque te hayas preparado para esto, hablar de ir al espacio debe dar un vacío en el estómago, ¿sí o no? ¿Cómo te imaginas esa travesía? ¿Te preparas de una forma especial para calmar esos nervios?
Bueno, verdaderamente hasta ahora en día todavía no. Creo que ya estando en el cohete y estar listo para el lanzamiento, creo que claro que va a ser un poco. Pero más que todo uno aprende a enfocarse en la misión y en la preparación. Y gracias a Dios he podido practicar eso mucho en mi otra vida en el ejército, ¿no? Como doctor y también como piloto de helicópteros.
Exactamente, has tenido grandes retos en tu vida. Yo quiero saber qué le dices a esos niños que nos están viendo y los jóvenes que a esta hora de pronto tienen ese deseo, ese sueño como tú de ir al espacio igualmente. ¿Qué puedes decirles?
Bueno, más que todo que sí se puede y que la preparación es increíblemente importante. Hay pocas oportunidades en la vida, pero cuando las hay, es importante estar listo y preparado y hacer lo máximo de esas oportunidades. Pero yo creo que yo puedo servir como buen ejemplo de que cualquier persona lo puede hacer si trabaja a esa meta.
¿Ha sido muy difícil dejar tu casa, irte a Rusia, porque allí fue donde te preparaste? Todo este proceso, ¿cómo lo calificas?
Sí, ha sido un poco difícil estar separado de la familia, pero gracias a Dios todos estamos con una emoción para esta misión, entonces nos ayuda un poco, podemos hablar casi todos los días y eso también ayuda. Pero ahora en día estoy enfocado ya preparándome para los exámenes finales, para alistarnos para el lanzamiento. Entonces, he pasado la mayoría de mi tiempo preparándome y estudiando para esos exámenes.
Y qué orgullosos nos sentimos de verdad de lo que estás haciendo. Te agradecemos mucho. Él es el astronauta salvadoreño Frank Rubio. Está con nosotros desde Rusia en Despierta América. Por eso escuchan esos espacios de silencio grandes por el delay que hay. Pero sin duda para nosotros esos espacios son simplemente inflarnos más de orgullo. Es importante que sepan que con este viaje Estados Unidos y Rusia retoman los vuelos con tripulaciones mixtas, una práctica que había dejado de hacerse durante la última década, gracias a el astronauta. Y ahora, bueno, seguimos con
muchas gracias.
Y este universo de inspiración, Raúl, adelante.
Claro que sí, nosotros estamos felices de que está aquí en la casa porque a raíz de la pandemia...
Muchas gracias, Frank. Mucha buena suerte. Thank you, NASA.
Muchas gracias. Buen día.
Great, thank you.
Hola, Frank.
Hola, Claudia, buenos días.
Buenos días, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, muy bien. Muchas gracias. Bueno, para mí es buenas tardes, estando aquí en Rusia, pero es un gusto saludarla desde acá.
Claro, buenas tardes. Frank, muchísimas gracias por darnos tu tiempo y hablar con nosotros. Me encantaría escribir esta nota en español para todos nuestros suscriptores en Latinoamérica. Y quería preguntarte entonces, empezar preguntándote un poquito sobre tus raíces de salvadoreñas. Entiendo que tu mamá es del Salvador. ¿Podrías contarnos un poco sobre eso? Si tienes más parientes en El Salvador, si ella está allí ahora.
Sí, correctamente, mi mamá es del Salvador y bueno, mi familia entera es del Salvador. Aunque hay muchos que viven en los Estados Unidos, todavía tenemos mucha familia que está en El Salvador. Y para mí es un gran orgullo poder representar no solo nuestro país, los Estados Unidos, pero también el país de mi familia, El Salvador. Es algo que es muy emocionante para mí y para nuestra familia.
Qué bueno. ¿Y has podido ir allí en algún momento? O cómo, bueno, me imagino que estás muy ocupado, pero me preguntabas, ¿o cuándo fue la última vez que estuviste allí?
Bueno, sí, ha sido un poco de tiempo, pero sí pasé, bueno, yo crecí ahí, aunque nací en Los Ángeles, pasé los primeros 6 años en El Salvador. Entonces, mi primer tiempo y mis primeras memorias son del Salvador. Y por eso para mí es un gran orgullo poder representar el pueblo salvadoreño.
Qué bueno. Y cuéntame, Frank, yo sé que eres piloto, eres médico. Cuéntanos cómo nació o un poco cómo empezaste a pensar en lo de ser astronauta. ¿Eras uno de estos niños que le preguntan, ¿qué quieres ser de mayor, astronauta? ¿O no? ¿Cómo fue la cosa?
Sí, Claudia, sabes, cuando me preguntaban eso, más que todo decía que era doctor. No fue hasta después que decidí tratar de hacer esta meta. Y más que todo fue porque me di cuenta de qué grandes las metas de la NASA eran, de explorar los cielos y descubrir nuevas cosas. Y para mí esa siempre ha sido parte de mi personalidad. Siempre me encanta la exploración, aunque sea en las montañas, en el mar, a donde sea, siempre es algo que para mí es lo mejor. Entonces decidí probar y gracias a Dios pude tener esta oportunidad.
Qué bueno. ¿Cómo te estás preparando? Me imagino que es algo, un entrenamiento duro. ¿Y cuántos días vas a estar en la Estación Espacial Internacional?
Sí, bueno, es mucho el entrenamiento, ¿no? Han sido casi 5 años que he estado aquí, los últimos 2 preparándome específicamente para esta misión. Pero de veras que tenemos un equipo grande en la NASA que nos prepara excelentemente para todo lo que vamos a hacer. Estaré ahí un poco más de 6 meses y bueno, vamos a tener la oportunidad de hacer varias cosas, incluyendo, si Dios quiere, una caminata espacial, muchos experimentos que esperamos que puedan ayudar a la humanidad. Y por eso que para mí es algo que de veras estar ahí, claro que es increíble estar en el espacio, pero más que todo uno se siente muy orgulloso de hacer cosas que le van a ayudar a la humanidad entera.
Cuando hablas de estos experimentos, ¿a qué te refieres exactamente? Entiendo que hay una parte médica, quizás, y el tema de producir los órganos humanos. ¿Es eso a lo que te refieres o qué esperas conseguir allí?
Sí, bueno, eso claro es uno de los experimentos que vamos a estar haciendo, que de veras para mí es emocionante. Creo que es increíble esa oportunidad y aunque estamos solo en el empiezo de eso, creo que algún día sí será una meta que podamos lograr. Y también se sigue estudiando nuestros cuerpos propios, ¿no? Porque hay cosas que necesitamos saber, cómo la circulación es afectada por la microgravedad y también cómo esos efectos afectan al resto del cuerpo. Entonces uno pasa mucho tiempo estudiando a sí mismo uno al otro, ¿no? Y seguimos poco a poco. Creo que teniendo más y más sabiduría en cómo podemos ayudar a los humanos a llegar a la Luna a tiempo largo y luego en unos cuantos años al Marte.
Quería preguntarte también sobre... Hello, sí.
Sí, claro.
Quería preguntarte...
Sí.
Ok, es un tema que obviamente te están preguntando muchos, pero que tengo que hacerte. Vas a ir al espacio con 2 astronautas rusos y sabes obviamente que estos son momentos difíciles en las relaciones de Estados Unidos-Rusia. ¿Cómo os lleváis? ¿Habéis hablado de este tema? ¿Cómo son tus colegas y cómo vas a lidiar con eso?
Sí, no, bueno, primero Sergey y Dmitri, mis 2 colegas que van a ir en la Soyuz conmigo, son amigos y son increíblemente buenos cosmonautas, ¿no? Los rusos dicen cosmonautas, aunque nosotros decimos astronautas, pero es la misma cosa. Y por eso creo que todos tenemos una gran confianza en nuestro equipo y que juntos la tripulación que vamos a tener va a ser muy fuerte y podemos hacer cualquier misión que nos toque. A términos yo creo que nos tratamos de enfocar más que todo en eso y la misión y no en lo político, porque para nosotros no es algo que vamos a poder afectar ahora en día y es un honor representar nuestros países y hacer esa representación lo máximo que podemos, ¿no? Entonces, para nosotros creo que en eso estamos enfocados más que todo.
Gracias. ¿Y puedes contarme también si tu familia, bueno, son 6 meses que vas a pasar en el espacio, ellos van a poder, tu mamá quizá desde El Salvador, van a poder ir a Rusia a despedirte, vas a poder verlos, sé que tienes 4 hijos, cuéntame un poquito de eso.
Sí, mi esposa y mis 3 hijos menores van a poder venir a ver el lanzamiento. Mi mamá va a ver el lanzamiento de El Salvador. Pero sí, claro que es una gran cosa para mí poder tener a mis hijos acá. Mi hija mayor, lástimamente, ya estando en la universidad, no puede, bueno, no puede dejar sus estudios para venir, pero sé que va a estar viendo el lanzamiento en la televisión. Y creo que va a ser una gran experiencia para nosotros.
Claro. ¿Y qué va a ser lo más difícil para ti de este viaje? ¿Qué desafíos crees que son los más duros en una misión así?
Bueno, la separación de la familia, claro que creo que para mí especialmente lo más difícil. Físicamente, yo creo que las caminatas espaciales son lo más difícil. Esos son 8 horas que uno está trabajando, bueno, muy fuerte y también tiene que estar enfocado increíblemente bien, ¿no? Entonces yo creo que eso va a ser lo más difícil. Además de eso, yo creo que estando 6 meses ahí y saber que cada día cuenta, ¿no? Entonces cada día uno tiene que dar su mejor esfuerzo. Y creo que al final voy a estar un poco cansado, pero muy orgulloso de lo que vamos a poder lograr como un equipo en la estación.